Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Let's talk about Hyundai. Do you guys love driving a sporty, fabulous car with great gas mileage? Guess what? Hyundai has done something amazing because they questioned absolutely everything to create the best Tucson ever. Every inch of the all-new Tucson Hyundai has been completely reimagined, resulting in an SUV loaded with available innovations both inside and out. I mean, from the design to the technology to the safety, so important for me as a mom, every aspect of the new Tucson has been improved upon. The SUV has been completely redesigned inside and out to create the best Tucson ever. It's so cute. It's so sporty. It comes in great colors. Plus, there's so much tech. Unbelievable. If you guys have not seen this new Hyundai, this is the time to check it out. The brand new reimagined Tucson Hyundai. Learn more at Hyundai.com. That's HYUNDAI.com. Hyundai.com.
Hi, this is Danny LaRue, the Real GM radio podcast, and I'm taking the Phoenix Suns over the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, if it happens. BetOnline has free odds and lines available online or on your mobile device. Visit betonline.net today.
Welcome to the MIP, the Michael Irvin Podcast. Time for the MIP, the Michael Irvin Podcast.
Welcome to this week MIP, the Michael Irvin Podcast. We have a great show lined up for you. We will lock up all corners of the NBA with a great conversation with Greg Anthony. So the MIP report will focus on the NFL because everybody is starting to go to camp. And all the conversations in the NFL has been about vaccination. Right. Now, in this MIP report here, let me just jump right in this because you know how they always tell you as a reporter, don't become part of the story. Now, I have a dual responsibility. You know what I mean? I'll sit here and I'll interview people, but then I also get interviewed. And man, did I stir it up because I am monomaniacal about winning championships. So I said, if anyone out here is not getting vaccinated on a football team, I was particularly talking about my football team, the Dallas Cowboys, if you are not vaccinated, I'm questioning how badly you want to win a championship. And since it's me and everybody's been coming after me, I've been called every name in the book since I made this comment. Every name in the book, if you go through social media, from the Uncle Tom to whatever you want to call me, I've been called. So since even an investigation by the police, when you're involved, they said, we want to limit you. So since I must be limited because I'm so involved, this time I got to bring Sean back in, my producer, just to try to get the ear or the thoughts of others out here so that I'm not just isolated on my thoughts. Sean, listen, people got on me this week because I talked about what it takes to win a championship. And I want to talk about this, man, because I said to people, you got to understand this. You got to understand this. You have to understand. This is different. This is different. What we do every day, the reason you go out and condition and work and get in shape, because you want to eliminate all the things that could stop you from winning a championship. I go out here, I get in shape, I run, I get my heart rate up, because I don't want fatigue to stop me from getting a championship. We run plays 1,000,000 times a day, the same damn play. I'm like, Coach, we got it, Coach. We got it. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Coach, we got it, man. Let's do it again. You know why they do that? Because they don't want a mistake in the play to stop you from winning a championship. So now that we're dealing with COVID, and unlike baseball, unlike basketball, where if you miss 10 days or 2 weeks, you can still survive in those sports. You miss 10 days, 2 weeks. The right person missed 10 days or 2 weeks here in this game, it's over. All the work that everybody has put in, all these players, all these front office people, all the coaches, everything gone. Gone if the right person, or should say wrong person, gets COVID. That's why I'm saying if you have championship aspirations, if you really think you have an ability to get there, how can you not say, I must get vaccinated? I've got to get vaccinated because I can't become a problem to my team. Sean, I want to bring you in on this, and I'm going to say this too. I saw Zeke comments. Ezekiel Elliott, he said, I felt some kind of way about being vaccinated, but I had to put that aside for my team because he knows he's one of those players. If he's out 10 days or 2 weeks, it hurts them considerably. People got on me, Sean, and because this vaccination thing is a political topic. And I kept saying, I'm not talking about the right wing. I don't care about that. I don't care about the left wing. I only care about a ring. That's it, a ring. And the political people, they don't care about a ring. So everybody in the locker room, let's stop trying to serve them. This thing here has been crazy conversation, and especially, Sean, with the new memo the NFL put out Thursday.
Right, yeah. It seems like they're going to be coming down on teams that have an outbreak. And, as you said, it happens at the wrong time. This happens on a Saturday to a key player. They could be out potentially up to 3 weeks. It's guaranteed 2 missed games and some practice for that third week. So, what they're trying to say with the vaccination is that you would be out less time, likely.
Right, no doubt.
And I'm going to point right to your buddy Rich Eisen.
And the most important part is it's the contact tracing. You see, so even when you're vaccinated, if you are around somebody that has COVID, when you used to have to go isolate 10 days, you won't be doing that anymore. You know what I mean? Because you're vaccinated. That's a key thing too. Because remember, in basketball or in baseball, that became a real issue. It's the contact tracing that started putting players away and causing them to miss a lot of games. Basically, what the NFL said is if you're vaccinated, we're going to work with you. If you're unvaccinated, things are going to
they don't want to go through that mess that they went through last year in rescheduling those nightmares. We ended up having a game on every single day of the week last year because of that.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that.
I did kind of too, actually. That Friday Christmas game was amazing. That was great.
I kind of like seeing some. Oh yeah, okay. I don't want to digress. I want to digress because my appetite is big.
Exactly. As a fan with no stake in it whatsoever, yeah, absolutely. Give me football on Tuesday. Give me football on Wednesday. Give me football every freaking day. But yeah, I could easily see for the teams that and if you planned on it, then okay, that's great. But having to do all this on the fly, as athletes, totally messes with your rhythm, your routines, and all that stuff. So yeah, they're not having it this year. They're not gonna. And I thought you brought up a good point in our meeting before this, and that it was a little contradictory. It seems like these are sort of the same precautions, or the NFL taking sort of the same precautions to protect their players as they were last year. And this is sort of this year's version of them doing their best to protect their players.
And contradictory and contradicting in this manner. The rules were put in place last year because the players got together and said, we need you guys to protect us. We need testing. We need to make sure that we have tracing. So we're not taking it back home to our families and causing more issues. We need you guys to make sure that everything's okay. They held out and waited on this. Let's put some protocols in place to make sure you guys are protecting us. Now, here's where I'm saying the hypocrisy comes in. Now, the NFL comes out and says, okay, guys are vaccinated, you're good. But the guys that are unvaccinated, we're going to still implement the rules of protection from 2020 that you made us put in place to protect you. And now those players that are unvaccinated are screaming, this is unfair. You're punishing us. And I'm like, whoa. Hey, come on, guys. Let's not do this. You know what I mean? We fought to get these rules in place to protect us, or protect the players. I'm always on the player side because I'm a player. But we fought to get these rules in place to protect the player. Now that they're saying, if you're unvaccinated, we're going to protect you, like we promised last year, like we said last year, you're calling it punishment. That's where I say you remember that saying in the movie Tombstone? My hypocrisy
Love that
goes
movie.
so far. That's such a great line by Doc Holliday, right? When he had that star on, my hypocrisy only goes so far. And that's how I felt when I heard all of this. Like, come on, folks. Come on, peeps. The hypocrisy can only go so far. You get vaccinated or submit to the same rules that you put in place, that you made sure they put in place last year. I think that's crucial that not many people are talking about right now.
Torrey Smith put it perfectly on Twitter, who I'm going to quote here. Torrey Smith said, quote, "Why is everyone tripping over the NFL memo? It doesn't force you to get vaccinated. It just says if you want to be the reason why things are worse, your team will pay. There is a difference."
Right. And you will pay.
I kind of agree with that.
You will pay because if some unvaccinated player is the cause of an outbreak and you have to forfeit the game and all of that, you're not getting paid. You're going to forfeit that game check, and then your club may get hit with more penalties, and covering cost of other things. I mean, that's severe. Let's talk the reality of this on the roster. Now, what does that do for franchises? That puts them in this situation. That bottom third of the NFL team, that bottom third, if you're on that bottom third and you're not vaccinated and they got a player anywhere near comparable, you're gone. They're going to keep the vaccinated player. If they got a vaccinated player, I mean anywhere in the area code comparable talent-wise, and they have a choice between you and him, you could even be the better player somewhat.
Yeah.
They still got to let you go.
That's just simple risk assessment.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So these guys, that it shouldn't even be a question. And I know now I think they're up to 14 teams over the threshold. When we first started all of this, they were at 7 teams, just 7 teams over the threshold. That's when I went off about it. But now they're over there. They're at 14 teams, and they're saying it's climbing because guys are starting to come in and starting to get vaccinated and understand. I believe they did hear what the old playmaker said. And then they looked in the mirror when they put toothbrush to tooth, and they said, you know what? There may be something to that. And listen, we make decisions all the time on the NFL that put our life at risk. I ran a slant route that ended up with a broken neck laying on the carpet in Philadelphia, motionless. We're putting our life at risk. So when people start telling me about, Michael, I can't believe you're talking about vaccination and winning championships, putting life at risk in a championship. Shut up, man. I'm playing a game that puts life at risk. It's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game. So I absolutely stand by everything that I said. It is a determining factor to me on how badly or how much you think, how great of an opportunity you think you have at winning a championship. Because they said, if you had a team, you said, man, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. Say, everybody, we're going to the Super Bowl. Long as we do what we need to do, we're going to Super Bowl. How many people you think will go and get back? Everybody will go get vaccinated to say we're going to the Super Bowl. Everybody, if we all vaccinated and everything go clean, we're going to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody would go and get vaccinated. I don't care who you are, because I know it overrides you. Yeah, I know it does. because this the stuff we've been doing in your front yard since 5 years old. You'll do anything to get to that moment. And that's what I was talking about. I was just bringing it to light and bringing it up, and nobody was willing to talk about it in that realm. But to me, Sean, it is absolutely the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I call it the gospel.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, you were trying to keep it within the context, and that's what this conversation was within the context of, being a Cowboys player, being an NFL player on a football team in
winning
this exact position. As we said, there's many reasons why people maybe wouldn't want to get vaccinated, but we're talking about a very specific scenario here and these, athletes. And, it's unfortunate that you can't say anything these days without it being politicized. It just doesn't matter what you say. And to me, the truth is especially with this COVID scenario, is people have been all over the map, all different shapes and sizes and colors and political affiliations have all felt all the ways, so I don't really think you can say, these people feel this way or those people feel that way, or, oh, you're a Democrat, so you feel this way, you're a Republican, so you feel that, it's just not true. Just not true.
Yeah. I hate that we can't have conversations to try to get to solutions. I just think sometimes in this country, we enjoy the fight against each other instead of the fight for solutions and answers. And that's just why it's hard to get things done in this country sometimes, because everybody wants to pull you one side or the other on a fight. And both sides want to win so badly that they never think about a solution. They only think about winning. And that's an issue. So there's some hypocrisy in all of that. The one side's getting on me and the other side getting on me. It's just because each side wants to win, just like I'm talking about. I want to win in a Super Bowl. So you both want to do the same thing I want to do, and you're dragging me into your shit because I'm trying to talk about my shit, which is winning a Super Bowl. So I'm just telling you, back up. And all of the people that are calling me an Uncle Tom and I lose my blackness because I said that, stop it. Just stop it. Come on, man. I'm so black you can't lose this. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? You can't lose this. I'm trying to make sure that I give my people some real information. And I do believe this. Just right quick, and then we'll move off this because I don't want to kill this. We talk about COVID attacking people with underlying conditions, man. And here we got these conspiracy theorists and everybody saying how bad the vaccination is, You have to look at, the possibility of what these people are saying with the vaccination and the reality of what is happening with COVID. You have to make a choice. Which do you consider to be the best choice? I told you about my friend who had just gotten out of the hospital after 8 months. 8 months of being in the hospital, flatlined twice, said he went to heaven and came back. 8 months. You know, the first thing when I went to see him, the first thing he said to me, he said, man, I wish I would have gotten vaccinated as soon as I could have. That's the first thing he said to me. And so when I hear people talk about what it could be, and then I look at what it really is and how it attacked people with underlying conditions. And as African Americans, we've been underserved, underfunded, under everything. So we are underlined. And you're listening to these conspiracy theorists about the vaccination. I'm telling you, man, you're opening yourself up. You're opening yourself up because COVID is a killer. And it's a killer of people with underlying conditions. And that's all of us because we've been underserved for most of our lives. That's all I'm saying. So I know
the black and brown communities have been hit hardest with COVID.
Right. So I'm talking about the reverse psychology that hurt our community. The reverse psychology. Oh, the government's trying to kill you. The government, you'll be gone by now. You'll be gone if they really were trying to kill you. The people that are starting these conspiracy theories about the vaccine, I believe those are the people that may be trying to kill us. Let's be careful about that. We all get to make up our own minds. I'm just saying, consider those facts and consider that situation. I don't want to spend all of our time here on the MIP report on that because other things have come out. Even, and Jerry Jones agreed with my stance on that. And I was so happy that he did. But as I was hearing him say it, I said, what? You agreeing with me now? I needed you to agree with me way back in the 90s when you and Jimmy were talking about splitting up. And I said, no, let's not do this. Let's not do this. Who takes a car that is running as well as the car was running? We want back-to-back championships. We were 1-15, 3-13. 3 years later, we were winning 2 back-to-back championships. And we getting rid of this coach? Jerry Jones spoke about that the other day, Sean. And for the first time, I heard that story when he brought Barry Switzer in. It was a great story. I laughed about it. He said, Barry said, Jerry, where is Jimmy? He said, I said, Jimmy's gone. He said, well, where is it? Barry, Jimmy's gone. Why you keep asking me about it? Barry said, I just want to get both of y'all asses right here on this couch, so I can figure out how could y'all F this up? How could you F this up? The one thing I noticed, though, Sean, in that, Jerry got emotional.
That's just what I was going to bring up, actually. I was like, he was really emotional in talking about that. You can tell this has been on his mind for quite some time.
Right. And yeah. And now, it's so funny because you start looking back. And as I talked to Greg, later on, Greg Anthony, I said, man, I know I won 3, but I think about it, I should have won 5. Could have won 6. I think about it, I should have won 3 straight national championships in a row. I should have won 3 straight national championships in a row. You start looking back at all of those things down and what got away. Jerry's looking at eternity with how much more do I have? How much more living I have here in time? And he's saying, wow. And he got emotional with it. And I thought that was telling to how badly he wants to get back to where he was. And we hadn't been there in the last 30 years. That was an interesting thing to watch and listen to.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe gives us a little peek into why maybe another one of those reasons why he paid Dak. It's just like this is perhaps one of Jerry's final pushes to get one of his teams to a Super Bowl.
And this is what I love about Dak too, dog. And as you talk about that, Dak's always over-delivered. So everybody's talking about his contract. I know Dak personally. He'll want to over-deliver. And over-delivering means getting the Cowboys to a Super Bowl. To justify all that he's being paid. I know that's how he is, and I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait. You guys saw Zeke Elliott look so great. I don't want to get into my fandom. I'm just giving you that information. I'm just giving you that information right there. I believe they will have a much, much better year and have that chance at getting to a Super Bowl. I want to talk about this too with you, Sean, because as much as I think Cowboys have a shot, right quick, how much of a shot, really, does the New Orleans Saints have? Michael Thomas will be MIA possibly to November. Oh, my God.
It doesn't help. It sure doesn't help losing your star receiver with a new quarterback at the helm. It sure doesn't help. I mean, I don't think people really had high hopes for them this year. You're losing a Hall of Famer. It's hard for any team to make that, especially a Hall of Famer at that position for a football team. So difficult. So I don't know that people really had high expectations, especially since they're in Tom Brady's division now. But it surely doesn't help. I mean, that's a big blow for them.
I had hope in this sense. That I saw this guy would throw a lot of touchdowns, and Jameis Winston. But I saw him throw a lot of interceptions because, I felt he was forcing the ball up the field. The best thing happened to Evans and those guys in Tampa was Tom plays the game. short to long. See, Jameis was playing the game long to short. Michael Thomas will force Jameis Winston to play short to long because Michael Thomas plays the intermediate short area, and you have to look at him. You have to get him the ball. Now Jameis can fall back on his temple thing, trying to play long to short because he's trying to do too much. And I think that just hurt his career more than anything else. That's where I'm saying, man, I wish Jameis, if he's going to be the quarterback, have a Michael Thomas, because Michael Thomas gives you that handoff down the field all day. Then when you give him those handoff passes down the field that Michael Thomas takes, you have to come up. And Jameis has a big arm. He can get plays over the top. If I'm Jameis, I'm flat out crying, boo-hoo tears right now when I got this news about Michael Thomas. That's going to be a hard loss for the Saints. But you mentioned it. They're right there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who feel right now invincible in a sense because they got all of their guys back. Ever before, they got all of their guys back. The commitment those guys must have in their locker room, one to another, it has to be incredible after going through it last year and getting a chance to get everybody back this year. That bond, that bind will be hard to crack in Tampa Bay. But speaking of hard to crack that bond, that bind in Tampa Bay, that other Bay team, Green Bay, didn't you just gave me that story? Give me that story. What would you just tell me about?
Yeah, actually, both of these are Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport reporting on Michael Thomas and him also reporting right before we hopped on Devontae Adams. Says that Green Bay and Devontae Adams have stopped extension talks, and Rappaport says, quote, they are in a bad place with no plans to resume long-term extension talks. Is this the very first crack in the foundation of Aaron Rodgers leaving the Packers or potentially leaving the Packers? This is the first crack in the foundation, isn't it?
Right. And this is why teams, when people perform, you have to step up and take care of them because the ripple effect becomes massive. Because what do you think Devontae Adams is telling his agent? Let's get all we can. I don't care to hear that. I don't want to hear that. It's not like, well, let's work out something good for them. Let's do no. We already see what them is. Them ain't taking care of nobody on this side. Right. So now the fight becomes, let's get all we can. Yeah, they're in a bad place because I'm sure Devontae Adams want to set a new market for wide receivers. I guarantee you, and I hadn't heard anything about any numbers or anything, but I guarantee you he's trying to get at least $25 million a year because other guys are making 21, 22. He's trying to get $25 million at least a year to set a new market, and I'm not giving you a break or a discount, especially after what you did to my quarterback. Give me my money because now you are about to take me through a litany of quarterbacks that you trying to find around here. And I'm not going to have you cutting me or trying to ask me for a pay cut because you have messed this thing up. I ain't got no issue with what Devontae Adams is doing right here. He's saying, you didn't take Aaron Rodgers. Don't ask me to come in here and be friendly like you going to take care of me. Because if you didn't take care of that dude, I know you ain't going to take care of me. That is the ripple that comes down that comes down the pipe.
Yeah, and I can't help but look at this and think, does Devontae Adams know something at this point now? Like, okay, I'm not coming back, buddy.
Yeah,
so you better make your plans. And he's like, okay, so I better get all the money I can or tell him to get me out of here.
Right.
So either you're going to make me the highest paid receiver in the league, or you're going to ship me out of here with Aaron Rodgers.
You said Aaron Rodgers has said so. I'm not coming. I'm not coming.
Yep.
And we can go to a bad place.
Maybe him and Devontae Adams had lunch over the past couple of weeks. He said, I'm not coming, bro.
Then I was wrong. Then I was wrong because I didn't think about that. And you're right. Then I was wrong. Devontae Adams asked for $30 million a year. I was wrong.
You're right.
He asking for the impossible. And if they give it to him, he'll be stuck there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He'll be stuck. I tell you, give me 30. Give me 30 million a year right now. Give me 5.
But he'd be living good.
Right. And then I'll fight it out.
Spend it whoever you want.
Right. Do whatever you want. Give me 30 a year and we'll go from there. If he knows Aaron is what you're saying, that is a good point, man. And speaking of good points, it's just great to be talking football again. And you brought this up. Remember, we were talking about the 22nd, the handoff, and we'd have had a game 7 from basketball to football. And that's exactly what this has been. We've had to talk basketball and went right into football. Now, we gave you the MIP report on football, but we're about to give you the closeout of the finals with a great conversation with Greg Anthony. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Joining the MIP, this man, you know, you've heard, you've seen. He hails from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's one thing. To say you were born in Las Vegas, Nevada, attended UNLV, where he took home the 1990 national championship. He was drafted in the first round from the New York Knicks. Get that now. This man was born in Las Vegas and got drafted in New York. It couldn't get any better than that. And he's just one of the best you ever do it on TV. Joining the MIP, my friend, Greg Anthony. Greg, come on, man. Talk about that, man. First of all, let's just get right to that. Let me just go. I mean, you know me, and I admit all my shortcomings, as the Bible says. We all fall short of the glory. Now, I'm gonna just be straight with you, Greg. How the hell can you focus if you're born in Las Vegas? How can you focus to go win a national title in Las Vegas? I was so happy when I wanted to play for the Dolphins, but I knew maybe it's best they don't draft me. You know what I'm saying? With all going on in Miami, man. How you doing, buddy? And what does it take to win in a city like Las Vegas?
You know, Mike, it's funny. You grew up, you know what it's like to play for your hometown team in college, right? Like, we didn't really, when you grow up with nothing, you don't really get exposed to all of the shortcomings and the things, the temptations, really. Right. We never hung out on the strip. You know, now we had issues to deal with because that was back when the drugs were starting to pop and we all, you know, the world was getting introduced to crack cocaine and all that stuff. So we was hustling and playing sports. And so you didn't deal with the temptation of the strip. That wasn't really a big deal for us. The funny thing is, for me growing up there, it's all I knew. But like when we would have guys come to visit on recruiting trips, their parents wasn't having it. They were like, there's no way they're sending their kids to Sin City to play basketball. So like, you know, when you grow up in the world, like back when you and I were kids, like the world was big. Like you didn't really leave your neighborhood. Right. You know, like we didn't really expand outside our comfort zone. And so I didn't really know the issues that the rest of the world had with Vegas, the perception that was out there with Vegas. It was actually kind of funny. So for me personally, man, it was just an opportunity to play for my hometown hero and Jerry Tarkanian. You know, I grew up watching Vegas as a kid, Reggie Theus and Sidney Green and these guys going to Final Fours, Freddie Banks. And so, like, that was just a dream of mine to play for him. And then you talked about going to New York. And then I go from playing from one of the greatest college coaches ever. I get drafted. Pat Riley's my first coach in the NBA. So arguably the best to ever do it on that level. So It was a blessing. You know, you don't always know the blessing when you're in the midst of it. It's oftentimes you got to look back retrospectively, and then you get to appreciate, man, how fortunate you were, how lucky you were. But in the heat of it, you're not thinking that way. You know, there are issues and dilemmas that present themselves that you got to figure out. And when you're young, you don't always have the answers. But fortunately, I got to play for some heavyweights in terms of coaches and some great teammates that kind of helped me on that journey.
But you know what, Greg, you're so right in that, Greg, because I was thinking about it as you were saying it. And my first trip, all I knew really was those little 4 blocks that I grew up in. My first trip outside those 4 blocks were my first recruiting trip, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I didn't hang out on the beach. I didn't get to go to no South Miami, all that. You ain't got no money. You can't go nowhere. What are you talking about? I never thought about it like, you broke, dude. That's why you worked so hard, because you were broke. So you're absolutely right. A lot of that gets mitigated. I was broke, but I can tell you who ain't broke. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not broke, man. Yeah, I saw your tweet, Greg, and I saw you saying greatest finals performance like of all time for you. Put it in words what you saw with Giannis in the Bucks.
Well, and what I was saying was it was the greatest clinching performance ever.
Right.
And up to that, honestly, it had always been Magic Johnson. You know, people will talk about some of Michael's great games he had, but Magic's was Kareem was hurt, didn't play in games. Magic went out, played center, had 42, 15, and 7, right? Right. But you know what people don't remember? Jamal Wilkes had 37 and 11 in that game, right? So he was getting a lot of help. So you fast forward to this game, Giannis, what separates Giannis even from the greatest in Magic Johnson, Giannis dominated both ends defensively. Nobody wants to be guarded by him. Remember, he completely took DeAndre Ayton out the game. That was one of the adjustments they made. They made him play center. Ayton was a non-factor. No. And then, you know, Drew Holiday didn't shoot it well. He was 4 for 19 in that final game. Chris Middleton was solid, 6 of 13, but, man, he dropped 50. He dropped a 50 piece. He made 17 and 19 free throws. And what I've told people is when you look at the evolution of our game, and you see it in football as well, Giannis is the modern-day Shaq. Mm-hmm. This is how Shaq would have to dominate today. You couldn't just go down and with your back to the basket and throw it down and play out a double team because they putting you in that pick and roll. They making you now play in space. You know, the game has changed. I tell people, even though the dimensions are the same of the floor, the court's bigger because we didn't have to guard guys at 35 feet. You know, think about it, your era, as great as you guys were. Y'all couldn't put 5, 6 receivers out there and spread the floor, the field the way they do today, right? You know, the game has just changed so much, and you gotta account for that. And while when we grew up, whatever was going on in sports was the best we had ever seen, we kidding ourselves to think that is still the best there ever was. The game involves these guys get bigger, and I also made the point. Giannis didn't won a championship at a younger age than both Michael and LeBron. He's only 26. And so for him to now go out and do something neither of them, LeBron had a 50-point game in game 1 against Golden State a few years back. So, I mean, he was capable, but Giannis did it and shot over 60% from the field. Like, what he's doing, how physically dominating he is, man, it makes you uncomfortable as an opponent to go out there and have to deal with that dude. Because and then on top of all that, Mike, don't nobody play harder. Like, that dude is an animal out there, man. And he's a great dude. Like, that's the best part. As a fan of our game, he a humble, fun, loving, great teammate. Like, and you're going to see, you talk about money. My man about to move up into that Bezos level. He about to start doing, like, them crazy numbers. Crazy numbers he's about to start doing because everybody got to see him on the biggest stage. And we haven't seen nobody dominate the way he dominated. And remember, on top of that, Mike, this cat coming back after you saw the injury, I thought it was over.
Man, I didn't.
I mean, not only did he not miss a beat, he didn't miss a game.
when it happened, I said, no way, it's over. No way. We've seen enough. We both played enough sports and been around enough to see enough. That looked like it's over. Even if it, and thank God it wasn't ACL, but just the stress of it, it'll be over. Before that leg loosened up. And it was phenomenal. He in those finals, 2 40-point games, a 36-point game, and as you mentioned, the 50-point game. And he went 17 or 19 from the free throw. Let me tell you what we all, I think we always want. It's just what we saw. We want to see in the clincher, the main man take over. And he took over. It was a block party too now. I mean, he was running the floor like you talked about on both sides. I was like, this is phenomenal, man. It's a phenomenal match, a phenomenal showing by him. But by saying all of that, though, and you said he'll blow up now because the way he did it, he stayed home. He signed back when everybody said, oh, no, they don't do that. Get out of there. Go get out of there. You'll never win. Do you think he has a chance at repeating when everybody's healthy again next year?
Absolutely. And I'll take you back to remember when you found, what was the hardest thing to do? It was to win the first one.
Yeah.
The hard one is the first one, because what I was trying to tell, I said, look, man, if this dude get one, it could get ugly. Because what happens after you win it is everybody's confidence goes up.
It goes up. The key to everything is confidence.
You done it. And remember how they did it. Down 2-0. They had to exercise their demons against the Heat, the team that knocked them out last year. Beat them like they stole something, right? Then they got to go up against a juggernaut in the Brooklyn Nets, and they down 2-0 in that series. Then they won Game 3. People forget, Game 3 was a 86-83 game. Ugly defensive struggle. They found a way to win it just to get it to 2-1, right? And then they end up knocking off Brooklyn, who was injured, but they still knock them off at the end. Then they got Atlanta, who, people looking at it as Atlanta. And I said, look, you got to look at Atlanta from their record once Nate McMillan took over. They had the second best record in the league. So it wasn't like they were a fluke. They were a really good team. Giannis goes down for 2 games, and they still win. Without him, they clinched that series. And then they go and they down 2-0 to Phoenix on the road where Booker and Paul play great. They don't panic. They stay the course. They win a tough game in Game 3, and then Game 4 was a masterpiece. And then the game where they go and hold on to pull it out in Game 5, that was climax. That was the climax for me, because I knew Giannis, as you know, like when you got an opportunity, you ain't trying to go back for that 7th game. Yeah. And that's his mindset. That's why he went for it. He wasn't waiting to see how everybody else was going to play. He's like, no. Y'all got me here. Big dog going to take it home. And that's what he did. The big fella brought it home against a really good, gritty Phoenix team, man. And now that they've done it, like, he going to get greedy, man. Yeah. And the reason I say that, he built different. Like, it's some dudes, man, like, they have some success, then they get happy. Yeah. And they start resting on it. That dude trying to be an all-time great. He's looking at the resumes of those before him. He knows in order to be in that category, 1 ain't enough. So he already got 2 MVPs. He got a finals MVP. He got a defensive player of the year, and he got that chip. And so now it's about getting more. And he got a core group that's going to be there. Holiday locked up for 4 more years. Middleton locked up for 3 more. He's locked up for 4 more. So, it's going to be a challenge, as it always is, just like it was for y'all to repeat, right? But they going to be ready. Like, they're not going to lose it. You're going to have to beat them. And right now, man, they got to be the odds-on favorite, because they're going to get that confidence boost having won it. And them cats going to be ready to roll next year.
Tom, could be quarterback?
Because I've heard it. Is it hyperbole to say Giannis staying in that small market Milwaukee and then leading that team to a championship? Is it hyperbole to say that, boy, that saves the NBA? Because now people have hope that maybe I can stay with my drafted team and build a championship when it looked like everything was going to, let's build a super team.
Well, listen, there is some truth to saying that, but at the end of the day, you got to trust the people in the front office. Because, like, everybody assumes, oh, yeah, I can stay. No, if you don't have a good front office that can make the right moves, because just like with Milwaukee, if they don't go pull the trigger and get Drew Holiday, they're not hoisting that championship right now. And I said this about LeBron when people got LeBron left Cleveland because they couldn't build a championship team. And so remember, when they lost, who they blaming?
They're gonna blame LeBron.
They blaming LeBron. LeBron and went to the finals with teams that didn't deserve to be in the finals. He already showed you, I'm good enough. What y'all got to do is build a team. And that was the difference between what happened with him. Listen, honestly, that's the same thing that happened with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, they up 3-1 against Golden State. And him and Russ couldn't get it done. And he basically said, you know what? We don't have what we need to win a championship. We can be really good, but at the end of the day, if I want to be considered one of those dudes, have a chance to get on that Mount Rushmore, I got to go get some chips. And so that's what he did. Now, Giannis' situation was different. Him and Chris Middleton developed into great players and all NBA caliber players, but they still had to make moves. They had to go get Brook Lopez, who was an all-star center. People forget. They had to go get Drew Holiday, who's an all-star caliber point guard as well, to finalize it. They just got disappointed last year. The last 2 years, they had the best record in the NBA and couldn't get out over the hump. So he took a lot of faith and trusting in them, and I give him a lot of credit for it, and I'm happy to see it. But ultimately, I don't care how great you are. If that front office can't get the job done, it's going to be hard even for the best. I mean, LeBron has shown that. Michael Jordan, they fired their coach and went and got Phil. You know, they didn't get it done initially. So you gotta have faith in that front office, and they gotta prove to you that they're capable. And that's what Milwaukee did. So kudos to them.
See, this is what I love talking to you, Greg. You fertilize my brain. There's so much in this, all you're saying. You know, and when you start talking about faith in the front office, I want to come back to that in a minute and talk about Dame and okay, that faith in the front office. Because ultimately, like you said, I see Dan Marino, and I love Dan Marino. I think he's the greatest quarterback ever. I see some of these guys now, and I say, wait a minute. Let's start holding these front office accountable, because nobody remember who was in the front office when Dan Marino was the quarterback. All they say is, Dan never won a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It follows Dan. Whoever the GM was, he went on with his life. Nobody's saying anything about it. Nobody's talking to his kids. Like, your dad didn't even win a Super Bowl. Nobody's saying that. So you are absolutely right about the responsibility of that front office. And I think in our game, we're going to start seeing, like the Aaron Rodgers are saying, hey, y'all step up, or I'm stepping off. And I'm going to get back to that with Dame, but I want to get back to Middleton and Drew Holiday. Can this continue to work? Giannis being what Giannis is, and this is what I love about Giannis. This is what I love about what he did. Everybody's talking about the free throws. Giannis, hey, he took all that in, and when it counted most, went 17 and 19.
Yeah.
We saw what Ben Simmons went through when he wouldn't even take a dunk. You know what I mean? So when he wouldn't even take a dunk because the pressure had gotten to his head, that tells you that's a different kind of dude. That's a different kind of dude. But can it continue to work? Because late in the games, I saw Middleton becoming the A-man. He became the Batman instead of the Robin late in the game. And usually when you have a talent like Giannis, we're wanting to see him with that ball in his hands late in the game, but we've seen Middleton. Can that dynamic continue to work?
Listen, all you got to do, Mike, is go back to when the Cavs came back from 3-1. Who hit the biggest shot? Kyrie. Okay, go back to when Michael.
You talking about when they won the championship?
Yeah,
Kyrie and that jumper. You're right. You're right. Curry them shot them. You're right.
Go back to Michael. 2 of his championships.
John
Paxson and Steve Kerr hit the shot.
Paxson, right. You're right.
But it's about Michael's presence. You know why they get those shots? It's because you can't take your eyes off Giannis. You still got to load to Giannis. And ultimately, your championship teams, your dynasty, you're not the only one in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
You ain't winning no championships if you ain't have Emmett in that backfield.
No doubt.
If you ain't had that offense, like, it takes a team. Like, Giannis just showed y'all remember game 2 against Phoenix, he dropped 42. He had a monster game. They lost. Devin Booker, back-to-back 40-point games. They lost. And he was efficient. It wasn't like he was a volume shooter. Like, you got to have those guys be able to make shots. Even in the closeout game, Middleton hit a big shot on a tough mid-range. Like, you ain't doing it by yourself. And Middleton now, his confidence is going to keep going. That's what I'm saying. So, like, now him and Drew, dude, they won championships. They won a championship in the closeout game. Drew Holiday go 4 for 19, almost 4 for 20. He did that twice in the last 3 games, and they still could win. And the difference with Giannis dominating both sides of the ball. So Giannis might go get the offensive rebound and put it back, which we saw him do multiple times in that series. Giannis had I thought, for me, in watching this game, I've been watching this game for 40 years, the greatest defensive play I've seen in finals history. Now, it won't have the significance of LeBron's block because that was in the 7th game on the road against arguably the greatest team ever, right? Like, so context does matter. But the play Giannis made in terms of the physical execution of what he did, I ain't never seen nothing like it. And I've seen a lot of guys chase down and block a shot, especially when I can't elevate and go up to dunk it. I got to pump it like Iguodala did and then go for the lay. Great play. Still an incredible play. But for what Giannis did, and it was off the bad knee.
Off that
where
knee.
He's got to guard Devin Booker, who's been giving you buckets. And he's got to pirouette and time the block perfectly, avoid the foul, and keep the ball in play in the biggest moment of the game. Like, so for what Giannis is doing, it's a comfort zone for his teammates. Like, Chris and Drew know, damn, man, I ain't even got to be great for us to win. I just got to be good. And so he's giving those guys confidence to continue to play at a high level. And what's going to make them great is him. Like, he ain't happy. He's going to want to win more. He's going to hold his teammates accountable. And they got great chemistry, man. And so there's no doubt it can happen again. And I'm telling you, it's going to be scary for the rest of that league with how good this group can be, because they're going to get better. They can still make some moves in the free agent market. You know, they only played basically 7 guys in this series. Now, you could do that in the postseason, but over the course of the regular season, you need 10, 11 to get you through that marathon.
And what I love, though, just speaking of what you're saying, I love when he was holding that championship, Giannis looked at Chris and said, "We did it. Yeah. We did." You know what I mean? That holds each other. I'm gonna tell you something. You're talking about that relationship. We playing Washington one time. Man, I got hit in the ribs. Oh, I couldn't even breathe in the huddle. I'm taking short breath. Troy said, "You okay? You need to leave. You need to leave." Emmett looked at Troy and said, "No, he doesn't need to leave. He's fine." I said, "I can't breathe." Emmett said, "They don't know that. You just stand out there and you keep that corner into safety. I'll win the game. Just keep breathing like that out there." He would not let me leave the game. And that's what you're talking about, that accountability to each other. I said, my ribs are broke, man. They don't know that. Just stay out there. Just stay out there. I'll run this ball. If you lead the game, they're going to stack this line of scrimmage, and we're going to have a different problem. So
and Mike, and even if they knew, if you own the field, they got to guard you the same way they would guard you if you was 100% or 50, because you still that dude. And the fact that you out there, and that's my point. Like, people keep saying that, Middleton make it. I'm like, why y'all think Middleton getting those? They can't double team Middleton with the big dog over there.
Right.
Can't take nobody's off him. That's partly them. They get those opportunities because of his presence on the floor, man. And like, that's a part of it. That's what made y'all great. And that's why also you was going to get a lot of single coverage. You know, like they didn't know what was coming. They didn't know if Troy was coming to you or they was giving it to Emmett up the middle. And you had a great tight end. Like that balance is what makes you great, man. And like, as a defender, you know, like, when I don't know what's coming, that's when it's hard.
Right.
In my mind, I'm like, damn, they got Giannis over here. I can't leave him, but damn, then they got Middleton. That dude is a killer. So what do I do? And once you start thinking as an athlete, you become slow. Your reaction ain't as quick. You know, you're not playing off instinct. That's why Giannis now knows that. Like, you got to learn that stuff, man. It's a journey. He's learning. His ability to pass the ball, I thought, was the most underrated thing he did. He became a much better passer. He made some big passes for big threes that guys hit because he knew all eyes on me. What Tupac say? All eyes on me. Right. And that's what he knew. And so as all those eyes on him, if he's making a pass with good timing, his guy's going to get open shots. And in this series, they were able to knock him down.
Right, you're right, man. He did. He improved in that a lot because before everybody was saying, let's build the wall. But now when you built that wall, he wasn't just making those passes to the three. He was also dumping off, getting dunks up under the goal because that wall was built for him. You're absolutely right. That was a great, it was just like you said, it was great improvement and just a great show all around, man. I enjoyed watching it and watching them get that victory. Now on the other side, after 16 years, of battling and trying to get there. And then CP3 gets there and he's up 2-0 and he falls short. Greg, man, what do you think went through CP3's mind as he watched that celebration?
Mike, he was no doubt disappointed and frustrated. There's no way you get that far. I know, having lost the 7th game in the finals, like, there is no worse feeling. And that stays with you literally forever. I tell people all the time, the losses, you remember the losses more than the wins a lot of times, right? You know, you got 3 of them,
and
but
still
them losses stay with you.
I should have had 5. I should have had 5. See, every day of my life, I say that.
Right? That's the mindset of greatness. You wasn't happy with just 3 because you know deep down you probably should have had 5, right? But by the same token, I say this all the time. I say, you know, them cats on the other side, they get checks on the 1st and 15th too. Right. You know, and sometimes they make plays that don't allow you. Like I'm doing a group text. You know, I know you do this with your boys, right? Because everybody is a Monday morning quarterback. And they on there, they talking about Chris Paul. They're like, oh man, you know, he this, he not that, he not that. And I said, wait a minute. I said, y'all do know the dude averaged 22 and 8. He shot 55 from the field, 53 from 3. Now, yeah, he averaged 3.5 turnovers. I said, but y'all act like he was horrible. He had 1 bad game. And generally when you play, you know, in a 7-game series, you're going to have one. Only the very few guys don't have them. Giannis didn't have a bad game in the series, but Giannis was head and shoulders above everybody else. And they had no answer. I'm like, Devin Booker had 2 horrible games. You know, like, the reality is Milwaukee was better. Like, you know, it ain't that Chris wasn't great. And I think when he has time to get over the emotions of losing, you look back, you go back and break that game down, you break down the series, and you come to the realization that we just weren't good enough. And I think that's what's going to be the killer for him. Now, to your point about 16 years in, he also knows, man, I might not get another opportunity, you know, because he's looking at the landscape. He's like, you know, Golden State's going to be better. The Lakers going to be better if these teams are healthy. The Clippers might not because Kawhi's out, but Utah's probably going to make a move and get better. Dame going somewhere to help somebody for a chance to win a championship. So it ain't going to be any easier. But the reality is I thought he was good, man. He just, you know, when you don't have the ability to dominate the game physically, you know, when you're a cerebral player, your impact can be nullified somewhat, right? Like, the reason you can't nullify Giannis's impact because he just physically, man, there's just nothing you can do with all that. There's just nothing you can do. If you notice, everybody in that series had some inconsistencies except Giannis. He didn't have a bad game in the whole series. And part of that was because it wasn't nothing y'all could do about it. I can contest Chris. I can make Devin Booker take tough shots, right? I can make Middleton and Drew Holiday take tough shots. But Giannis can go get 8 offensive rebounds for putback dunks. You know, you can't stop what he can do. And that's just the difference, man. Like, sometimes you just got to tip your cap.
Yeah.
The better team won the series, man. It wasn't like, that doesn't diminish what Chris has accomplished. That dude in year 16, take a team that ain't never been to the playoffs. Think about it. Not like they weren't like one step away. They hadn't even smelled the playoffs. Yeah. He goes there and with some help, but he's able to transcend that team and get them to thinking championship. So overall, man, finishing second at the highest level is disappointing, but it's not failure.
Right.
And I think that's what sometimes we lose. Like, you know, only one team can win, so that don't mean you bad if you finish second. That just mean that one team was better.
Well, better that day, bigger and better. And people, you hear the rumbling. They're like, oh my God, CP3, is he going to leave? Because he opting out of $44 million. Now, in our minds, we would love to see CP3 go to the Lakers and win. But in order for that to happen, I think they only have like a $4 or $5 million. I mean, he's not giving up $40 million to go to the Lakers. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. So he more likely, hopefully, I hope he comes back to Phoenix and continues to grow that team. You know what I mean? Continue to grow that team. But they are talking about who will the Lakers go get. And I've heard people talk about, Russell Westbrook out there, somebody, because the Lakers need somebody else. You just mentioned Dame. First, are you going to agree? You think CP3 is going to come back to Phoenix? And then where do you believe Dame will end up playing this year?
Yeah, I think
that front office thing you talked about earlier is in play. You heard him talking about it the other day. Like, I always wanted to win here, but ultimately, I want to win a championship, and it takes something to do that. So where do you think those guys will end up playing next year?
I will say this with CP3, don't discount a possibility that the Lakers still come and play via a sign and trade. So he can't sign outright. Same thing with Dame and a lot of these guys. There are going to be situations where they can't sign outright. Now, the difference is going to be this. In Chris's case, it's harder with the Lakers because they may not have enough, but they do have Schroeder. And so if Phoenix is in a situation where they're like, okay, we could lose CP3 outright, because if he goes and tells them, I'm not re-signing, but I give you a chance to do a sign and trade, they're going to have to look long and hard at that. Because people forget when LeBron left Cleveland that first time, even though he was a free agent, it was a sign and trade with the Heat. People don't even realize that he actually did a sign and trade because they had to make it work with the cap. Right. So that possibility is still out there. Although having said that, he's got a connection with Monty. Yeah. They've been together a long time. I think he loves that situation. I think he would like an opportunity to run it back. So I think he stays. Similarly with Dame, I look at Dame's situation a lot like Kevin Garnett back when he left Minnesota. Kevin Garnett had been the good soldier. He had been a warrior for them. He was not the reason they couldn't win it. They, just like we talked about with some other guys, that front office just wasn't good enough to get him over the hump. And so they ended up trading him somewhere that was going to give him a chance to get a championship. Boston had pieces that made the deal work. He goes there, voila, they win it. So I think you could see a similar situation for Dame. If the front office comes to the realization, if they're a good front office, they say, you know what, there's no plausible scenario where we're going to become a contender. Because the reality is Portland ain't even in the mix right now. They got beaten the first round by Denver, and Denver didn't even have their second best player, nor did they have two or three other important pieces on that team. So that tells you they nowhere near, right? They nowhere near. So in order for them to get there, they don't have a lot of pieces that you can pull a trigger on and make a great deal. So I do think ultimately they're going to try to get him somewhere that gives him a chance to win, as long as they get, in their minds, a good deal. It could be Philly, right? It could be Philly. That could be a scenario where you see him end up. It could even be a scenario with the Lakers potentially, depending on what they have, if that's an enticing enough package. But all those teams are going to be players. And another guy you got to keep an eye on that might get traded is Russell Westbrook.
Yes, yeah.
Westbrook could end up with the Lakers because, again, they're going to have enough, the Lakers, to possibly pull a trigger on a deal that makes sense for the Wizards, because the Wizards are in a similar boat. They're not going nowhere. As great as that backcourt is, they're not going to be contended for a title as presently constructed. So if you can't win it, you might as well start trying to rebuild and do what Phoenix just did, right? Because Phoenix did it organically. Do what Milwaukee did. They did it organically. And sometimes that's how you have to do it. You got to be willing to push that reset button. And Dame has earned the right to go compete for a championship. He's done everything. He's been a model citizen. He's been an incredible leader and teammate. He's been great for their community. He's given them all he has. The reality is the team as presently constructed just ain't good enough to contend at the highest level.
Greg, you have wisdom about a lot of things, and I want to ask, and turn to football here in a minute, but I want to ask one last thing on basketball, because I know how crucial that is. I went through it my rookie year, man. I came in, Dallas talking about, I'm the baddest man in the world. I catch a BB in the dark. Somebody turn out the lights, shoot a BB gun. I was saying all that noise, man. I went to training camp. I was dropping everything that first year. I went to the doctor, got my eyes checked. I got my hands checked. And it wasn't any of that. It was all in my head. I came up out of it. I had to come up out of it. But I tell people, confidence is like money. It's great to have it, but when you lose it, it's hard to get it back. It's hard to get it back. It takes some. You need a succession of success to get it back. Where does Ben Simmons go from here? How does he get that back?
I think he can get it back when you realize what he is. You can't put that square peg in a round hole. Like, Ben Simmons is fine. Everybody's just looking for him to be something he's not. Ben Simmons is a bigger, better version as a player of Draymond Green. He's just not the leader that Draymond is. He's not a scorer. He ain't never been a scorer. Like, you don't, like in our sport, and it's no different than your sport. I mean, if you think about it, you're going to go ask your left tackle, hey, look, man, I need you to play, be our number one option at receiver. That probably ain't going to go well, because that ain't who he is. Ben has never been a scorer. Like, honestly, to me, they failed him because they should have never, after a year or two, you realize, okay, this is who a guy is. He's not, it wasn't like he was shooting bad and you can say he's going to get better at making shots. He was never shooting. All his points come off transition, steals, dunks, layups. He ain't never been a guy that you throw it to and say, go get me one. And that's okay, because you can win with guys like that. It's just you got to have them in the right role. I always felt like they were a different kind of player. They needed another dynamic offensive player, and they should have never made him just a pure point guard. Because in the playoffs, man, you got to play a team 7 times. You on the same schedule, and they get to break your team down. They know all your tendencies. They know all your sets. Ain't no tricking. That's why it's hard in the playoffs to win, because you got to do it 5, 6, 7 times. The same team. And it ain't enough time for you ain't changing who you are after you spend a whole season getting there. And that's the problem for them. I honestly wouldn't look to trade him. I would look to try to figure out a way to get another next level scorer. I love Tobias Harris. I think he's really good. But for me, you need a guy like Chris Middleton, who not only can get you 20, Chris can get you 35, 40, but Chris can make plays, rebound, takes pressure off Joel. And you want Ben to be Ben. Like, I want the 16, 9, and 9. I don't want you to feel like you got to get 30. That's not who he is. And so, like, that's a big part of it, man. You got to put guys, you got to build your team around the strengths of your best players, not their weaknesses.
And Bradley Beal's a score. Get you a score.
Yeah. Like, that's like Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal getting 4 points in the game, that's an issue. That's that. Okay, now we got a problem because he is a scorer. But not like that dude. That kid ain't never averaged more than 16 points. Yeah. A 16-point score in our league is not a score.
And Giannis hitting those free throws, I thought, wow. The first, I ain't gonna lie, I thought that's not good for Ben. Because people are going to say, well, you see, Giannis, he had problems. He overcame it mentally and shot. Ben can't come over. But
Giannis been getting 28 and 30.
Yeah.
Giannis been scoring. Like, Giannis is wired differently. And that's a good point about it. It's true about Ben. Like, when Giannis go to the line, shoot 2 air balls, next time down, he's still trying to dunk on your head. He got a short memory.
It's
like
gone.
I was watching this show the other night, Ted Lasso. He had the funniest line. He said, one guy was struggling a little bit, one of the soccer players. He went up to him. He said, you know who what the happiest animal on the planet is? And he got it. Now, he said, a goldfish. And the dude looked at him. He said, because he got a 10-second memory. He said he can't remember what happened 10 seconds ago. And he said, that's what you got to be, right? You can't think about a big drop.
You got to move.
Right? Oh, you got to think about the catching the next one. And that's how Giannis' mind works. Like, Giannis ain't focusing on what just happened. I'm focusing on the next play. And Ben doesn't have that yet. Like, he doesn't have that level of confidence. And part of it is because he's got to worry about something that ain't his strength, which is scoring. And so if he can get in a situation where they got guys that can do it offensively, you just let him go rebound, defend, and make plays, I think they'd be better served. And they should take him off the ball. He shouldn't be a point guard. Yeah. You can't play point in our league today and can't shoot.
Right.
It ain't happening. It's just because you don't put no pressure on the defense.
You know, you a massive point guard, man. You played that great defense, Greg. I know I've had you much longer than I asked for you, than I asked you to give me, and I want to close up with this because you grew up in Vegas. You won a championship in Vegas in basketball. It's a beautiful stadium. I can't wait to come to Las Vegas and go in that Las Vegas Raiders stadium and experience a football game packed with fans. I know that's going to be great. Right now, I think all the away games, you can't get tickets for away games because everybody's planning their vacation around their team coming to Vegas. We're going to Vegas that week. You can't even get tickets to get in those games in Las Vegas. What would it be like if Gruden and Mayock and Carr can win in the NFL in Las Vegas? What would that be like?
You know what it'd be like? Very similar to what we just saw with Milwaukee. A small market team that ain't nobody really ever thought could actually do it. And then you somehow go and do it. It also inspires all them other small market teams, right? Like that to me is how I look at it. Now, as a homegrown person from Vegas, you're going to have a lot of people that are just excited, like when Cleveland won it with LeBron. Like it'll be the biggest experience for that city, literally, since we won a national championship over 30 years ago. Right. And in some respects, it's going to be bigger because now Vegas is a big city, right? You got an NHL team, you got an NFL team. Like Vegas ain't like the small town I grew up in, where it was only 9 high schools in the whole county. Now, they probably got 35, 40 high schools. It's a whole different animal, man. And now you got kids growing up being Las Vegas Raiders fans. And, it's going to pain me personally a little bit because I'm a Steeler fan, but I'm still pulling for the Raiders. And you know how bad that blood is between them two organizations. You already know. You already know. But I got to, swallow my pride a little bit and pull for them if they so happen to pull it off.
Homegrown is what you are, my brother. I thank you for taking the time to spend a little time.
Man, it's a good time, brother. Good time.
Greg, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Much love. Be safe.
Thanks for downloading the MIP. Check out new episodes of the Michael Irvin Podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, and Spotify.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
What's better than courtside seats? Free sports on Pluto TV. Hey, sports fans, get all your sports free on Pluto TV. Pluto TV is your home for sports. Watch 24/7 channels of MLB, MLS, MMA, sports news and analysis, plus documentaries, TV shows, and movies, all for free. No signups, no fees, no contracts, ever. Download the free Pluto TV app on any device.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And welcome to T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. The most fun you'll ever listen to while you're folding your clothes. Now let's get this straight. This is not your average podcast. T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio is super fun, super crazy. It's pretty much an in-your-face conversation. That's the good thing about us. We don't do interviews. We do conversations. All of my guests, all of my co-hosts, we chill. We drink, we play games. We have the song of the week. We have the creative curse word of the week. As long as you're having fun as our guest. Speaking of guests, each week I'm going to go through my whole contact list and dive head first into the world of music, gaming, exotic cars, tech, strippers probably, doctors probably strippers that are only stripping so they can pay for tuition to become a doctor. You never know. My wife is a certified bartender. She'll make you a drink while you're here. We'll get you drunk and make you play VR after. It's a lot going on. But that's what it's all about over here at T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. See you soon, baby!
Hi, this is Danny LaRue of the Real GM Radio Podcast, and while the NBA Finals are still going, the next big signpost for the league is the NBA Draft, and one of the prospects that I've been most excited to see is Jalen Green. Green was the first signing of the G League Ignite, which is extremely exciting. He spent the year in the G League and really impressed. I thought that his athleticism really comes to play, but also Jalen Green has a really good jump shot. He shot 37% from three, taking a lot of tough looks against talented opposition, and Green has defensive potential. I'd say he's better as an offensive player, but his handle, his jumping, his speed side to side, really exciting player, and might take him a little bit to get adjusted in the league, but think that there's a bright future ahead of him, and we'll see who ends up drafting him in just a couple weeks. Hi, this is Daniel LaRue from the Real GM Radio Podcast. It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now in the pro basketball finals and the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline.net has all the action. Basketball, the finals continues. The two hottest teams in the league make their final push for the championship, and if baseball is your first love, America's pastime is back and better than ever. Season really starts post All-Star break. Anything can happen, and BetOnline has you covered. If you love MMA, championship boxing, golf, horse racing, they have it. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, and odds. So head to the website or use your mobile device and bring home the game with BetOnline.net.
Get 30% shorter average wait time. When you buy and book your appointment at DiscountTire.com, you can get 30% shorter average wait time in the store. Discount Tire. Let's get you taken care of.